How do you create something that's different than everyone else? You do it differently than everyone else. Here at Copeland Creative, we specialize in telling captivating stories of wild people, wild things, and wild places. We don't just capture the story, we immerse ourselves in it. We are a diverse, multi-talented media house based in North Georgia.
Time in history, your mustache is bigger than mine.
Welcome back. We are live on everything now, I think. Are we going to do any pre, or are we just going to roll into this podcast?
That's up to you. I mean, you're the boss.
I do think we have some pre-show shout-outs.
Okay.
First stream with an FX6.
Okay.
First time using our brand new Cine lenses that we got.
Yeah.
My mustache is bigger than Ryer's.
Which there's extenuating circumstances that I can go into.
And his eye is fixed.
Mm-hmm. If you're watching the stream, you'll notice that my right eye, the eye on your left, is a little bit red.
We got to point it out now.
And that's because I had surgery to fix the cross eye, which surprisingly I got more pushback for having a surgery to correct a cross eye than I thought that I would have. I thought that people would be like, "Oh, that's awesome that you're getting a surgery that will make your life better and fixing a physical disability that you have." But people are like, "Oh,
you're losing your
You'll never be the same."
Yeah, I liked your cross eye.
Yeah, Tiffany was like, "Oh, he'll never be the same."
You're just boring and normal now.
I guess, Yeah. Welcome, Mr. Porter. It's Mr. Porter now. It's no longer Ryer.
It's hot as blue hell up here.
It is.
If you're listening, Joe, and you have AC background, we need some AC up in this pile.
Yeah, bring those fans in a little closer.
Yeah, a little closer.
That's as high as it goes.
We need to get one of those Dyson Air Stream things.
Fight it. There we go.
There it is. Can you see that? Bring it a little.
No,
in
you
this way.
can't.
Come on, keep swinging around.
Why don't you stop oscillating it and just point it that one this way and that one this way?
Halt the oscillation.
Stronger, so I want it on me. And it's from my office. And not bought with your card.
Okay, Clay. You can leave it on oscillating.
Well, okay, right there it stops being on you, and then it blows over there for what reason?
Yeah, we're losing
So that-
30%.
Yeah.
There for no reason, and it's gonna.
No, look, watch. It comes over here, hits me, perfect. Boom. Have it come a little past. Is this your first time using a fan? It's all about the effective airflow arc. Like that one?
No. It's better. Say that word on the front. Polonus. It's a terrible name for a company.
I hope Bob Polonis is watching.
If he is, he needs some branding help. All right,
Call us.
let's do this. Let's do this podcast. Y'all ready?
The Redneck Tech Podcast is brought to you by MikesArchery.com. They're a one-stop shop for virtually everything archery, bow hunting, and for your next outdoor adventure. Mike's Archery has been at the top of the archery game for over 50 years, and they want to give listeners of the Redneck Tech Podcast 10% off their entire online store using the code REDNECK10, all one word. Just put the code in before you check out, and your boys will hook you up. The guys at Mike's have always been good to us, and now they can be good to you too. Visit MikesArchery.com and get your gear now.
Right here. Yeah. You want him? Yeah. Welcome back. Episode 177. Forgot to hit the unmute buttons. I went to go talk and couldn't hear myself. We are here in the office, finally getting around to doing another podcast. We're not ahead of schedule. We're not behind schedule. So we're right on schedule with everything, which is nice, which is a rarity for us. But we wanted to get on and do a podcast, and we're calling this one Tell Better Stories. But this one's going to kind of jump into a lot of different things. And the first thing being we released the film within WTF Sunday the 30th of April. Today
A little
is
more than a week.
Yeah, today is May the 10th. So, yeah, 11 days ago. And the response has been incredible. We've had a lot of people really, really, really enjoy it. And obviously, you know, it not being a happy ending or necessarily in like an upbeat, fun, happy story like a lot of outdoor films are. We got a lot of like, oh man, that was deep, or you know, that one hit home. I can't tell you how many, 5 or 6 different people that sent me screenshots of missed phone calls and, screenshots of text messages that they still send their dad or their granddad even after they're gone. So it really, really, really struck a chord. And it made us really sit back and think, or me anyway, I don't know about y'all, made me really sit back and think about, okay, what's next for us? And I'm not going to tell you what's next, but it's made me think about the next film that we want to do and the way we want to do it and what story we want to tell. And that's kind of where we get to the name of the podcast, Tell Better Stories. And even further than that, tell harder stories. When we set out to do the call, we were going to enter it in a film festival, which we did. We entered it in Badlands. And we're not sure what happened. We have our theories, let's just say that, of it didn't get picked, even in the preliminaries to even be viewed in Badlands. Their prerogative, I get it. But we watched the films that were. And they were like every other film that I've ever seen in the history of ever. Not to say they weren't good, but they weren't films. Again, we're going to go back to this. They weren't films, they were glorified web episodes. And
I mean, I would venture to say there were, like, if you were to just base it on, there's a lot of criteria that goes on into picking what film should be in a film festival. I think quality, just general quality, should be one of them. And I mean, just based on that alone, ours far exceeded.
Words are hard.
A few of those.
Yeah. So, but even let's not get into the quality or anything. Let's get into what I feel is like not necessarily a misjustice to us, which it was. I was never going to talk negatively about a film festival or other films until we did one of our own, because I wanted to make sure our first one was on our own terms, was self-funded, and was truly different than everything I'd ever seen. And I think we did that. I know we self-funded it. Very certain of that one. I know the story was different. I know we did it on our own terms for the most part. There's things we'd change now. But everything about it was different. We set about making sure every common thread, every common theme, every common thing that had ever been done in every quote-unquote film we'd ever seen at any film festival, we did the opposite of that. And I've heard for going over 11 years now, man, we're going to do this TV show, or we're going to do this web series, or we're going to do this film, and it's going to be different. Okay, I've yet to see one that's different, and I think ours is. I truly do. Does it have through lines of other things? No. No, it's everything about it's different. And we did that on purpose. Everything we did in that film was for a purpose. And then we put our heart and soul into it. We entered in a film festival, and
we didn't even get an email back.
We didn't
even get an email saying,
we don't know
hey,
if they watched it.
Thanks for your submission. Like, you didn't get chosen this time. We didn't even get one of those. It was just I think one day they announced on Instagram who was in the film.
They didn't even tell us they announced it.
And we're like, oh, we're not in it.
We don't even know if they watched it. I'm fairly sure they did not watch the whole thing if they did watch it. And when you go back and watch some of the films that made it, some of them are okay. They're, again, web shows. Some of them are terrible. But the common theme that we did see throughout was they were either people that knew the people at Badlands, or they were wearing Badlands gear. I get it. I understand why. And did I enter it to win Badlands? It's like, yeah, that'd have been cool. But we entered it because we wanted the people that it means the most to be able to see it. And I think the best thing that happened was Badlands not picking it, because NWTF saw it and they put it out, and way more people saw that through NWTF and through our channels and through people that we know and sharing, and like it kind of went crazy for a couple of days there. That's who we wanted to see it, and it's still going. I'm still getting messages about it. Jamie hasn't even released it yet. He's like, I'm purposely waiting for it to die down, then I'm going to re-release it on his. So, and NWTF has called us and it's like, what can we do next? You know, we want to do something again. We want to keep pushing this narrative and tell better stories. I think that what we did, at the very least, what we did, I hope it challenges content creators that are even more, skilled than we are to tell better stories, to tell better versions of stories, to tell harder stories, and do it on your own terms. We set out to do a film on our own terms, but we wanted to put it in Badlands. We will not be putting anything else in Badlands. We will not grace the doorsteps of that place anymore, because that place is a joke. So we will be doing things on our own terms. We'll be doing it the way we want to do it, and we'll show it to the people we want to show it to, the way we want it to be shown, whether that's with another company, whether that's by ourselves, whether that's just to show it to friends of ours. But I think that staying true to what we set out to do was the number one goal, and I think we did that. I don't know, I don't know if whoever at Badlands just didn't get it, didn't watch it all the way through. And I'd love to know if you do see this, if somebody sends it to you, I'd love to know the reasons. Just because I watched what you put out, and not to say ours was better, but it was different than everything else you put out. And maybe you have a narrative that you were wanting to push is, the grip and grin at the end, which ours did not have. But to say that what we did wouldn't have been impactful to the people in that room is crazy.
I mean, I think there's a lot to say about what wins, what's good, what's bad. A lot of that is subjective, like we say a lot of the times. But withholding a lot of my subjectivity as much as I can, I think that our film, I'm comfortable saying that our film deserves isn't necessarily the right word, but certainly had the merit to be shown in the film festival.
Oh, yeah.
Now, like you said, whether it had won, obviously, the way Badlands work, it's a crowd favorite. But I think that just all things aside, I think that our film 100% should have been shown at Badlands.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and that's not me coming from the viewpoint of being an elitist or being a person who's like, well, I made it, it's that good. You guys can vouch for this. I'm very critical of my own work and our work, and very quick to be honest about what I think the quality of something is, whether I did it or somebody else did it. And I think truly, ours was good enough to be amongst the films that they picked.
Oh, 100%.
And to be fair, we're going to be biased no matter which way you put it, because
Sure.
It's our film. But if you're going into a film festival, like you said earlier, quality has to be part of the parameters that you choose a film off of. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if it didn't get chosen because it doesn't meet the narrative or whatever your brand is or whatever for the film festival, then that's completely fine. But there's no way they can say that they didn't choose it based off of quality.
Well, here's the thing that gets me more than anything. Not getting chosen, not anything. Not an email that said they received it. Not an email that said they watched it. Not an email with feedback of here's why. It's like it went off into the nothingness.
Now, we have a friend, I will not say his name, but he knows some people at Badlands and is good friends of ours, has some insider info at Badlands, and he suspects, based off of recent years, that they probably got somewhere between 100 to 200 films submitted for the festival.
Films. We're using that term lightly.
Episodes for the film festival, for the episode festival. And
Episode.
The standalone YouTube.
And we showed it to him, and he cried when he watched it. And he said basically what they probably do is they get all the submissions and they scrub through every single one of them to see if they like something that they like. And if they don't, they throw it out. And whichever ones they do see, big deer, big elk, Badlands, whatever it is, they go through and watch it, and then that gets thrown into a pool where they choose from. So I have the feeling that they scrubbed through, and one, it was about turkeys, which no one ever does at Badlands. There's never turkey films there.
It wasn't about turkeys, but
There were turkeys in it, and it didn't have a giant deer in it, so it kind of just got poo-pooed out to the side, that's my take on what I think happened.
And I think that just generally speaking, I would love for the hunting industry to have a film festival
where actual film festival.
Getting into that film festival meant something, and there was prestige around that.
Yeah.
For the sake of everybody who does this out of a passion like we do. Badlands is supposed to be that.
Yeah.
Badlands is there's supposed to be a level of clout, if you want to put it that way, that you get.
It used to be.
From,
There's not anymore.
Well, I mean, I think it's still perceived this way because I truly think that one, generally in the hunting industry, mediocrity is accepted, if not
encouraged,
and is the standard place.
Yeah.
Two, I don't think that audiences know anything but that, so they don't expect more. And I think that just generally because you can get social hype from being in Badlands, it still carries a certain amount of clout, right? And I don't think it should. I think that over and over again, we've seen the films that go in there. And
I've been there for 5 or 6 straight years, and they have not gotten any better. If not anything else,
and over and
worse.
over again, they've told the same handful of storylines with different characters or different locations, with the same types of shots, the same types of music, the same types of styles, and they don't get any better. You don't see anything new, and I don't think you're seeing the type of work that should be held above other work, right?
No.
A film festival is supposed to be a place where these are examples of something excellent within this general scope, right? There's lots of film festivals that deal with a lot of different industries and themes and passion groups. And all of those film festivals' goal is to showcase pieces of media that
or the best of the best, and the best of the best
of the best, and impact those communities. And it's both, right? You have to do both. You have to make something that's good, and you have to make something that's impactful. And I feel like at Badlands, you get things that are maybe like 50% impactful, right? And the quality is hit or miss for a lot of it. I mean, it's a lot of miss. Sometimes I've seen things in there, and like, how did that, out of 200 films, how did that get picked?
Best. That was the best.
Like, that was the top 15? That was in the top 15?
It's like our president. It's like, that's the best we could come up with.
Right.
Out of all this choices, that's the best we could come up with.
And I would like to see. Sorry, Clay. I just want to get this thought out.
No, you're fine. I know.
I want to see that. I want to see a film festival where you're truly getting the best of the best.
Well,
because I know for a fact we
Only way
made
you-
something that was very good. I know that there are other people
That
who
are
are
way-
making things that are
way
very
better
good,
than
if
us.
not better than us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's people who we don't know that are making that stuff who deserve, I think, a place to be able to put it where the success of that is not based on, can you hype it on social media?
It means something.
Right? Like, they can get their work in front of an audience without having to have the millions of followers that you would have to get most work in front of anybody's faces nowadays. Because if you're not playing the social media game, your work's not getting in front of people. And there's some very, very talented people who don't play the social media game that should be seen. And there's some pieces that should be seen. And I think that Badlands is not representing the hunting industry and not doing justice to our industry by basically accepting mediocrity and being what we suspect a good old boys club.
Well, the only way you change it is you got to get a brand from being the head of it. You've got to get it to be some sort of independent, even like the Full Draw Film Tour. Well, even that one's going to have bias because they want something. They want an archery hunt. You've got to make it to where it's very, very, almost like a, what's the independent film festival that happens all the time? Sundance. It's almost got to be a Sundance type.
I mean, there's tons and tons of them. I mean,
yeah.
There's a lot. But Sundance is like, if you get your film in Sundance,
that is prestigious. Yeah, 100%.
And a lot of people who get their films in Sundance, I mean, it's like a lot of times it's a short film that's a pilot for a longer film or like a really impactful small documentary or something like that. And there's levels to that. I mean, there's all kinds of film festivals. And that's what I'm trying to say is I think I would love for there to be something like that in the hunting industry.
A Sundance, I'd love for that too.
I think the problem is coming at it from like your standpoint. The people that have the ability and the knowledge and the skill to put something together like we did and put it in Badlands have the same issue that we had, which is why it took us 2.5 years to do it. They don't have the time during hunting season to go film a hunting or a non-hunting piece, whatever it is, to enter it into Badlands. Like, if you have the ability to be making something like we did, or even better, which is possible, you don't have the time to go set off. Probably, if we worked on this every day, it'd probably take us, 3 months of work?
Well, it would
2
take
months?
us that long. No, I mean, I would say a month, but
You don't have the time to go and set that apart and make that just to put it in Badlands.
there's got to be there's got to be some sort of reason. There's got to be incentive because, like you're saying, the best creators are never, ever going to put a film in there because they're too busy doing stuff for clients. But if there was a reason for them to do it, you'd see some incredible stuff.
And it would be different than what you're used to
it'd
seeing.
actually be a film.
And you might have brands commission films.
Yeah, which is fine.
Put their money behind films for the sake of putting it in there, which is not uncommon.
At least it's behind the film and not behind the festival.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if Vortex or whatever wanted to put their name behind a film, that's a lot different than Vortex being in charge of the film festival.
Yeah.
Where if someone was wearing a pair of Swaros or a pair of Mavens or something, like they might want to poo-poo on them because it's not a Vortex.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it also too, it's like, we couldn't do the film festival. Someone else is going to have to do it because then we're going to be biased. And I like things that Ryder doesn't like, that Clay doesn't like, and vice versa. So
well, I think
it's got to be a panel. It's got to be
any good film festival is a panel.
Well, yeah, I don't think Badlands is a panel.
No.
It's got to be objective. It's got to be non-brand. It's got to be a film. It's got to meet some criteria, and the fact that the thing that killed us the most on the Badlands ones was it had to be under 10 minutes. Like we could have made it longer, but we kept it under 10 minutes for that reason. And I think I don't think it hurt it, but you can't really tell a great story. And I guess you can tell a great story in 10 minutes, but I think it needs to be a little more open-ended than that. I think
Unless
it needs
you
to be
use voiceover interviews.
Yeah.
I think generally a short film is considered like less than half an hour, right?
Is it? Yeah, I don't know.
I think that
Let's Google it.
I think that generally once you get into an hour, like an hour is a feature length.
Feature film, yeah.
I think that generally it's like 15, 20, 30 minutes-ish.
Right.
40 minutes or less.
Is that Sundance?
Including all credits. A short film is defined as an original motion picture that has a running time of 40 minutes or less, including all credits.
Is that from Sundance?
That's from the Oscars.org.
And there's categories. I mean, you know, a good film festival usually has different categories to enter, different skill levels, different topics, different lengths, different whatever. And you could certainly do that. You know, you could do a
So Sundance, they have to be under 50.
Yeah. And I mean, you could go. I think you could go look at some of the things that have been at Sundance, and it's
legit.
It's pretty legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many times have you watched a movie and it's like from Sundance or Sundance whatever? You know, that's where it originated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of industries and like I said, niche kind of passion groups that have their own film festivals. At the hunting industry, I mean, Badlands is supposed to be that, but I think it's deeply flawed.
It would be nice if the hunting industry could do a film festival where you knew you could do a film and it had a chance to get picked for the finalists if it wasn't about a hunt or have a kill in it. I mean, because that's what we said as soon as we entered it.
You take the kill out of it, people aren't going to be able to tell a story. I mean, there's going to be so few people.
We did it.
And that's what I'm saying. There's so few people. If you take the kill out of it, they're going to say like, well, then what's the point? And that's where I'm getting at with like tell a better story. If you're relying on killing something to tell your story, then is it that good of a story?
Right.
You know, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Then you'll narrow down your submissions from 200 to 70, 75, if that.
But also at the same time, if you get 250 submissions, is it not your duty to watch them?
Right.
If you're gonna have, and again, we don't know for sure that they didn't watch all of them,
Right.
and that they didn't watch ours. We have a sneaking suspicion, but you know, I don't want to, say for sure, hey, they're not watching it, right? Because they might be, and maybe they just hated it, and if they did, then
they're the first people to hate it.
And if you did,
we'd love to know why.
Just let us know, and we will definitely tell people like, oh, they just didn't pick it because they didn't like it, which is fine. But I think that if you're gonna have a film festival, you gotta watch the submissions. There's got to be a process. You know, film festivals have a process. I know one person isn't. I know you're smiling because I said process, but one person probably isn't having to watch the thousands of film that they get into Sundance. Maybe they're splitting them up somehow, like a bracketed sort of system. I don't know, but I am sure they're watching the films.
They're probably taking, say there's 150 film submissions, whatever, and there's 5 panel judges. Each panel each judge is probably given whatever 25 films, and they have to go through this rubric and grade them strictly only off of that rubric, and then whichever ones score the highest, they take, and then they keep narrowing it down.
I mean, heck, look at the freaking Oscars. How many movies come out a year?
Right.
And they have to watch. They get watched. You know?
But not all of them at the same time by the same people.
Yeah, so there's a way to do it. And if you're going to have a film festival, watch the freaking films.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
Yeah.
And if you're not, don't have a freaking film festival.
Yeah.
You're not doing anybody justice.
Yeah.
You're basically half-arsing it.
Yeah.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at Sundance Film Festival submissions. It's already passed for 2023.
Could we submit ours?
I don't know.
I don't think ours is that good.
I'd like to see.
I don't know if we're someone
has to
it's
not like it.
No, I don't think it's good enough for that. But I'm like, how funny would it be to submit it to Sundance, but it didn't make it into Badlands? That'd be funny.
It would be.
Anyway, let's get off of Badlands for a minute. Nothing against those guys. It's their film festival. They can do what they want. Just our opinion.
Do it better.
Do better.
You can do what you want. Do it better.
But I want to get into more of like telling better stories, and then we're going to get into a live critique of a former student's video that he sent Ryer. We're going to start making this a thing. So if you've got a video that you have shot and edited or shot or whatever, and you want us to go through it.
Are there any other options in there? Shot and edited, shot, edited,
DP,
edited and shot.
Yeah. So if you have anything that
oversaw, produced, funded.
He just can't help himself. If you've got anything
Sound
that
design.
would you like to do the podcast?
I'm on it right now. I am doing it.
You want me to straighten the other eye out too?
Read the voiceover.
Yeah. And you're currently eating a sandwich.
I'm hungry. I didn't get to
Colored.
finish it.
Colored.
God. If you have a
Were
piece
you a
of
grip?
work, if you have a piece of work that you would like us to live critique, good, bad, or ugly, then send it to one of us. We'll figure it out. And make sure you put in there that you want us to do it on the podcast, because otherwise we might do it and you'll be mortified. So
Also, don't send us something that you don't want put out yet, because we record these and then put them on YouTube. So
Yeah,
if it's
true
not
story.
something you want put out, don't
nice
send it to us.
PSA, Clay. So when
Know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
he's like a child.
He's oblivious.
He is. He really is.
Hey.
We can't do a podcast because Roger's eating a sandwich.
It would be rude to talk with my mouth open with full of food.
Don't eat during the podcast. It would be really simple. I just spit all over my computer.
Yeah, you just made more of a mess getting angry at me than I did eating a whole sandwich.
Jesus Christ.
I was hungry.
You couldn't have waited 45 minutes.
Oh, this is going to take way longer than 45 minutes.
So when I say tell better stories, what do you think of? Clay, when I say tell better stories, what do you think of?
I mean, a lot of things, not one thing specifically.
Okay.
That was a great answer, Clay. A lot of insight in that one.
I think of show me, don't tell me. I think of adding some type of emotion.
Or eliciting some type of emotion. Yeah.
Emotion, I think emotion's a big one. Like,
Yeah.
make there be a feeling, whether it's a good, bad, happy, whatever it is, angry.
Even to add to that, though, I think you have to add emotion, but you don't pander to something. You know, like if there's somebody with an illness and you use them to elicit that emotion.
It's
like,
not about the illness.
Yeah, it's not about the illness. I don't think you pander or you
Use it as a crutch.
Use something as a crutch. I think you figure out a way to tell a better version of that story. Tell a deeper thing about a person, a place, a thing, a time. And that's, when we struggle with that, I'm not even going to say we don't. This idea just kind of hit me going down the road, but it was one of those, it's like, okay, now how do we do this? And the current ideas that we have, we're in the same boat. How do we do this? How do we do it effectively? How do we, first of all, just to be completely honest, how do we do this and not cost me out of pocket this time? Because that's how I would really like to do it. It's like somebody at least pay enough to break even on the deal. But
a big question, like, because usually when we get a project or someone comes to us or we have an idea, all three of us, sit down or we get on the phone and we include Joe, and it's like, okay, this is what we want to do. This is the idea. This is how everyone else has done it. And usually the very first question we all say is, how do we do it different?
Truly different, because people say that all the time. How many times, Ryer and Clay, have you, I know I have, this is countless to me, I've had people pitch me an idea for a series or a film or whatever, and their whole shtick, their whole way it's different is like, we're just regular old good old boys. We're just like everybody else. That's how it's going to be different.
We get that from clients a lot.
And I'm like, that is literally the premise to half of the pieces of content that are put out. Nothing about that is different.
I think there's two premises to outdoor content. There's the good old boys that are just regular guys having fun with their buddies, or it's, I got a lot of money and I can go on any hunt I want.
Yeah.
It's literally one of those two things.
You're either the good old boys or you're the professionals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of like your two standard themes, right? Because you got a Waddell. He's kind of the good old boys. Then you've got
the Primos guys, the small town hunting guys, all those.
And then you've got something like the Crush. Lee Lukoski is the expert.
Yeah.
He's the professional.
Yeah.
Right? You've got something like, I would say Ranella kind of does a little bit of both, doesn't he?
A little bit. But then, you won't talk about the professional side of it. You talk about Swarovski's Optics Quest. You talk about Jim Shockey's old show, Uncharted. You talk about, there's so many shows out there that, do those huge, out of the country slams and super slams and all those type of things. Like, that's cool. It's very unrelatable. And there's no, I'm not saying don't do these things. I'm just saying it's been done. I don't have any problem with you going and creating episodes or a film around those things, but I think that you've got to figure out a better version of that story.
Or if that's what you like to see and that's what you like to watch and that's what you want to create, that's fine, but don't pitch it as being different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think too, you can do the same thing but do it differently. Look at something like The Office and something like Parks and Rec. At their core, those are the same show, right? It's about a group of people who work together at somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? But those are two very different shows.
Love them both.
And yeah, a lot of people will watch them both. And you like different characters, there's different interactions, there's a different style, a different mood, a different interaction. It's the same general story, but it's done differently. And I think somebody said there's maybe 5 types of stories that humans have been telling forever. So there's really only 5 types of stories.
Yeah.
At a big macro level. And it's the same stories that humanity has been telling since we've got the ability to tell stories. So I think you're not necessarily going to be able to tell always a different type of story, but you can tell it differently. And there's so many iterations and themes and genres and styles and minute details and ways to tell a story and more concise themes in a story that can be different, right? If you think of the 5 types of stories.
7. There's 7.
Okay. Well, I was close.
You're just off by 2.
I know.
Do you want me to read them out?
In a second.
Okay.
I'll get there. There's 7 types of major, what does it call it?
Just 7 types of stories.
So there's 7 major types of stories, but obviously within those, there's hundreds of millions of different stories, and all of them are unique because they deal with something unique, and they may make you think or feel something a little differently than another one in the same general column.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's only so many types of stories. It's how do you make it different using any variety of different choices when telling the story.
Yeah, so essentially this breaks it down into 7 basic plots. Number 1 is overcoming the monster. Number 2 is rags to riches. 3 is the quest. 4 is voyage and return. 5 is rebirth. 6 is comedy. 7 is tragedy. And then they break the plots down even simpler to happy ending, unhappy ending, and tragedy.
Yeah, so, there's...
Oh, I like this. And then they've got this. Rags to riches is a rise. A tragedy or riches to rags is a fall. Man in a hole is fall to rise. Icarus, rise to fall. Cinderella, rise, fall, rise. How do you say that? Oedipus, fall, rise, fall. So
I mean, you could take the same show or series idea, right? The concept, and you could shoot it in a documentary fly on the wall type approach, or you could shoot it in a very talk to the camera, tell me what you're doing, this is what we're doing, interview type style. And they could be 2 completely different shows. It's the same idea, but the style in which they were shot and edited was what made them completely different.
Yeah, I think, to get back to your original question, Caleb,
you finally came around to the answer?
What? I mean,
6 minutes later? Cool.
Well, we got off on a tangent. You let
We
go.
Go ahead.
Did I do
I
this?
was part of that.
Yeah.
I was part of that.
I was over here quiet while you guys were talking.
I'm the one that keeps us on task all the time.
All in this together.
It's from High School Musical. I think a story is something that makes somebody think or feel something. right? Think of all of the good stories you've been told, all of the good movies you've watched, all of the good books you've read. A common theme between all of them, if you like them, is they either made you feel something or they made you think about something, or both, usually both. A good documentary will usually make you feel, but it might also make you think. It might make you reevaluate what you've been doing as a human, what you've been thinking, your views or thoughts on a subject that's presented, or it might be exposing something that you didn't know existed before. A lot of narrative stories kind of may have the same sort of approach, or, if it's funny, they made you feel happy. If it's sad, they made you feel sad. If, it's Batman, it made you think about the duality of good and evil and how maybe somebody is good, but maybe they're also kind of a little bit bad,
It made me want a Batmobile.
Right. I think at its heart, a story is something that makes you think or feel. And I think that a lot of the times in our industry, though, that is left out, right? I think a lot of what we put out in this industry, we as a collective industry, and what people watch is not so much of a story as it is just blanket entertainment. It's something to put in front of your eyes to pass time. It's not really making you think or feel something. It's just straight entertainment. And I think if you even look at you look at an Office. Yes, an Office is just something that you just put on and you mindlessly watch it. But if you really analyze it, still at the heart of The Office, there are character arcs. There are situations that as you're watching, you may think, oh, that's kind of, I don't like that, or that's kind of cringeworthy, or, they may point out some kind of social problem in a humorous way, and it makes you think about it in a different light, So even though it's just pure entertainment, and most of the time you just kind of watch it, it's still making you think about certain things. Even comedy. I've heard people say stand-up comedy is one of the best vessels to talk about social problems.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because they use comedy to reframe how people think about something.
They don't ever feel like they're getting attacked about something.
Right.
It's always in the form of a joke.
Right. And so even something that stand-up comedy should be purely entertainment. A lot of times, if you watch good stand-up comedians, go watch Dave Chappelle, one of probably
the best
stand-up comedians of all time. His entire act is based on him essentially showing you social problems from a different light. That's his whole act. And it's hilarious, but you may also think about something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I think that when you are telling stories, you want to think about that. You want to think, how can I make somebody think about something? How can I make somebody feel something? How can I make somebody think about something because they're feeling something? How can I paint a new light on something that's been covered before? How can I make people think differently about something that they've seen before, or show them something they haven't seen before? I think that's what separates just putting something out there from really trying to tell a good story.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a way to get people in the hunting industry to tell stories based off of all of the things that happen before the animal comes in and gets shot. Because like you think about it, people watch hunting content for the last third of the episode or whatever, where the animal comes in, gets shot, and the people grab it, grip and grin, right? But like, you go watch a movie, you don't go watch a movie because in the trailer it shows you this bad guy getting a dome piece from some sniper, right? Like,
Sometimes I do.
You go watch it because there's cool jets flying and people, jumping over bombs or whatever. Like, it's all the cool stuff in the middle that makes you want to watch it, not the last 8 minutes of the movie. And I wonder if there's a way to create a series or something where each, like, say it's an 8-part episode web series, that each part builds on to the previous, almost like a chapter book, where instead of an episode, you have a plot that starts and ends in 8 to 12 minutes, but that plot develops over the entire 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Don't take my idea.
No, I think that vent's closed. Is that vent behind you closed?
Yes.
For show.
Maybe
That
that's
might be why it's so
hot.
hot in here. How is that vent closed? I was looking behind you.
Is it
nothing,
blown?
Nothing coming out of
Well,
it.
it's because the thermostat's downstairs.
Oh.
Huh. Well, good to know. So, anything else on that? Because I want to get to we're 40 minutes in, and I want to get to this critique, because that's going to take a minute.
Devin in the chat said that he likes something that he can relate to that draws you in, and I think that is a really good point. I think that a lot of times a good story is relatable. You know, you can relate to it. I think that's part of the reason why shows like The Office and Parks and Rec are so successful, because they have a character in there that you relate to. Everybody relates to different characters, but there's a character in there or a situation or something that you can relate to, and people really like that.
They give you 5 or 6 options. That, like, and in shows like that, people always have a character they love and they have a character they hate.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
I can tell you which ones I like and don't like in every story I've ever watched.
And I mean, I think
I think about Justified. Do you ever watch Justified?
I
We
watched
need
a
to.
few-
We're going to do another movie podcast and series podcast.
I watched a few episodes.
Clay can't be there because he hasn't watched anything since.
Last time we did that, we promised that we were all going to watch, and
We haven't done that yet.
that was like months ago.
Yeah, and I hadn't killing them softly was a movie you're supposed to watch.
I've already seen that like 6 times.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Clay can't do the podcast because he still hasn't watched anything but fishing on YouTube.
Sometimes he watches baseball.
I was watching golf earlier today.
Come on, Clay.
I was just having a conversation about how maybe when I grow up, I'm going to be that guy who like watches golf on Sunday, but I'm not really watching golf. I'm sleeping.
28.
I'm napping.
You're 28. You're grown now.
No. When I grow up, like when I'm, I don't know.
Old and 36.
70, 80.
Old and
whenever,
36.
Whenever,
You're not going to care about golf when you're 70.
No, that's the whole point. I don't care. It's just something to put on the TV so that it's not silent, but I don't care enough about it to actually watch it, and I'll nap.
Well, when you in 10 years, when you're 36 and old, you can watch it.
That's true. I'm getting there. What's it like, Caleb?
So Broken Straw Media
Being
said he
old.
likes telling the entire story, the good and the bad. And that is one thing this industry does not do, is telling the bad.
Nope.
Ever, ever, ever.
Nope.
They can never be seen as not the perfect shot, not the best hunter, not the most seasoned everything. It never happens.
I think that has as much to do with egos as it does with
It's more, it's
armchair hunters. I think
it's
armchair hunters are making it
it's-
worse.
It's 3 things. It's armchair hunters, it's egos, and then it's the
You got to be able to sell the product.
The networks won't allow it for TV. They won't even allow you to show a deer that you wounded if you can't prove it's still alive.
Yeah.
Or if you killed it and you can never find it, you can't even use that. So that's part of the reason. There's lots of different reasons for that. I agree with you, but that one's a tough one to navigate. I think we just got to get away from killing stuff. We got to tell better stories. We hear the words heritage and tradition all the time, and nobody's ever done a good job of telling those stories. Granddaddy's gun, we've heard that one forever. Nobody's ever done a great job of telling that story. And if you're listening and you think, well, all the stories have been told, no, they haven't. There's so many versions and better ways to reinvent the wheel. I mean, even, think about some of your favorite stories. There's better ways to tell them now. Okay, let's do this thing. I think I've got a way to do this.
Are we going to be able to hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got to set that up real quick in OBS because I did not do that. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to MacBook. I've got to do MacBook Pro. No, not MacBook Pro. Microphone. Maybe MacBook Pro microphone. No,
So,
no,
try this one.
no. It's this. It's no. Cancel. I'm gonna figure it out. Stand by.
All right, guys, so we're going to do some cool things today. We're going to
This video we're about to watch is from Nick Merrill. Nick came to our last class, and he sent this to Ryer today or yesterday.
Today.
And he wants us to, or he wanted Ryer to critique it, but the Ryer asked him, we asked before, if we could do a live critique on the podcast. So this is all of us watching it for the first time.
All right, guys, so we're going to do some cool things today. We're going to move some hives that we've got from a bunch of swarms and stuff we've caught in other videos. We're going to move those in the mini truck up to Joppatown. So stay tuned. Let's have a blast. Before we get started, I just want to show you the mini truck that we got for the honeybees. I really think it'll be a great thing for our operation. I really drive the thing around quite a bit. So if you haven't seen these, it's called a Honda Acti. They're full-time four-wheel drive. They're really neat trucks. This one's a stick shift and really quite incredible. So it's got 4-speed, it's got a 4-speed transmission, but it also has 2 low gears. So it's really capable. It's basically like those gators that you see, the little John Deere gators, but it's got heat, AC, and you can drive it on the road. So this one's a 97. They got to be 25 years or older to import them. I found this one on like Facebook Marketplace, so it worked out really well. All the sides on them fold down, and you can actually take them off like an old Jeep door. So you really have a lot of versatility in this. You can do really anything with it. You'll see it's got all kind of places to hook all kind of stuff too. So it makes it really convenient for moving colonies and all that stuff. It's got a several 100-pound load rating and that kind of thing. I wouldn't hook a trailer to it or anything, but for moving bee boxes and getting to yards, it's perfect. So anyway, just wanted to show you about it. Let's get back to it. So we're back here in the bee yard. I'm just gonna pick up some colonies. So I've already closed them off last night, pulled their screen bottom boards out. So I gotta scrape those off, clean them up. We'll load these 3 colonies. And I've got one from the neighbor's yard that was a swarm. This is actually the 3rd one that I've gotten over there this year. We documented another one. If you haven't seen that video, be sure to check it out. It was pretty fun. So we're gonna take that one up to Joppatown too with the mini truck. So we're gonna get to it. all loaded up. We're just taking a few colonies up to Johnstown. We're pretty fortunate that our yards are so close that I can take us up to, you know, this little truck will only get to about 50 mile an hour or so, but it gets 50 miles a gallon. So there's a lot of trade-offs there. So we're just gonna scoot these up there, increase our volume up at the next yard, and hopefully get more honey crop for next year. Pretty stoked. See you there. All right, guys, so we're out here at the Johnstown yard. We've got our 4 hives that we're dropping off out here. So these I actually shut last night. One of them, I believe it was this one, was from a swarm that we had in our last video that we posted of us catching swarms. So that's gonna be a really strong, really good producer for us. I think I've got one, either this one or that one was from a split that I did a walkaway split the other day. So I'm just moving that out here before she starts taking off. They're really just experimental. And yeah, so we're just gonna straighten up things a little bit, move some bees, and make more honey down the road. So we're pretty stoked. So I'm just gonna get to it. It's another feature I love about these trucks. These side gates. Oh. Got me. Side gates make it super easy, so that way I'm not lifting things up and over. You just kind of grab it as it is, rotate it around, and you got a colony. So I'm gonna space these out a little bit. We'll get them situated and then we'll open them up. They've been closed up long enough, I think, to orient correctly. I don't think we'll have any issues with drift or anything like that. This is a funny part of being a beekeeper. You always find hive tools everywhere because you always lose them. Love that. Another hive tool. I get to the main yard, don't know what happened. All right, so we got them placed. It's that easy. So I'm gonna go ahead and start opening them up, and we'll let the bees fly and let them do their thing. So they've made it to their final destination. We'll turn them into some big colonies this season. All we do to do this on the Appomays, which is what I love, is just slide the entrances. The ladies will start coming out, checking things out a little bit. So on the old wooden boxes, I used to have to staple screen to them and all that, and I used to have to rip them off. These Appomay just make it so simple now. So I'm just gonna go on down the line and crack our colonies open. So there you have it. We moved hives up to Johnstown. We increased the bee population, and we're gonna do pretty good this year with honey collection and all that, nectar and honey. So pretty stoked. The mini truck has made it absolutely fun and wonderful. And people in the community really love just watching it drive and go down the road too. So there's a lot of added things that make this truck just so perfect for what we do as a bee operation. So yeah, if you haven't seen them, check them out. If you haven't seen our other videos, be sure to check those out. We're really trying to put the best content out we can, some fun stuff that really engages you guys. So if there's anything that you'd like to see, be sure to let me know, put it in the comments. We love hearing from you. We love all the support that we have through all this. And yeah, we're pretty excited, so off to the next one. All right, guys. See you there.
Can y'all not hear us?
Now I think they can.
Oh, when we go to that, they can't hear us.
You probably have to make a audio.
I got to go
input
back
for
to
that.
scene, huh?
So we're gonna have to redo our thought.
We'll just add that in so they can see what we're talking about. All
There
right,
we go.
so now you should be
All
able to
right.
hear us on OBS.
Okay, so we'll go back to what we were talking about before. Thank you, Broken Straw Media. He pointed it out. because we can hear ourselves in here. That's why we couldn't.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
Sorry, OBS is weird.
So my general thoughts overall, I said this. I think it's neat that he's talking about the little mini truck. I thought that was cool. I think there's a lot of good shots in there that I liked. I think that Nick did a good job of producing his talent. I can tell that he's making sure that the guy tells him, here's what we're doing, here's where we're at, here's what we're going to be doing the whole time. I think they had maybe 3 different locations and a couple of different things that they were doing. And so I can tell he did a good job with producing that, and especially for this kind of video, I think that's really important. So as far as like the information goes, I think he did a really good job getting all of the stuff for it. I think that overall critiques, I would say I would like to see some more cutaways, some more kind of medium and tight shots, especially as he's doing stuff. There's a couple awkward transitions to me that we can talk about more in depth in a second. And then I didn't feel like the second song matched the quote-unquote vibe. It felt a little too epic to me, especially because he's driving kind of a mini truck around. So I think that didn't quite match the vibe personally. But overall, I think it was a good video. It kept me interested, and I don't know how anybody works with bees like that all the time. I would feel like I would get stung.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my overall thoughts. I mean, there's a couple nitty-gritty stuff in there that I want to talk about a little bit, but let's go overall thoughts first.
Yeah, mine was he needed more tight shots. There's lots of mediums and wides, or like not even really. I mean, you can see the whole body, so technically they're wides, I guess. Like seeing more of those. I don't know if there's a purpose for it being 8 minutes, or if he wanted it that long. But this video could have been 5 minutes ish. You could have montaged through the driving sequences faster. We could have gotten. There's a lot of repeats in the dialogue that could have been cut out, especially with some B-roll. You could have really sped it up. But overall, it was shot well. That you could definitely see that warp stabilizer on the walk around of the truck. Which we're getting into specifics, but it was cool. I think he did a good job of producing his talent again, and makes you want to spank a mini truck around for sure.
Clay?
Yeah, I already said everything I was going to say.
Okay. What's the nitty-gritty stuff you want to talk about?
So nitty-gritty, I think...
the first thing I saw was the warp stabilizer.
Yeah, that's the first thing I saw too.
I think too, especially, and this is just a stylistic thing for me, I always like to find reasons to sometimes bring in the style of another genre or do something a little different to spice things up. I think that here especially, I think there's a little bit of like a fun comedic value you can add with the mini truck. I think especially when he says, hey, here's a mini truck. I think you could do like a cool styled like one of those over-the-top car show-off videos, like Tokyo Drift style with all the swoosh transitions and stuff. I think that might have been a fun way to show off.
Yeah, he kind of did that.
Really capable.
Yeah, he kind of did that a little bit
like
here.
Gators that you see, the
I think
little
just
John Deere gators,
you could even punch it up just a little bit more to really kind of grab that style and make it fun.
But even like those cutaways, those are super wides.
I'd like to see some like tights and the wheels and all kinds of stuff about the truck. And I think that could be a fun like little stylistic thing to do if the guy is cool with that. He may not be. Some of this stuff is, whether or not the guy who's commissioning these videos wants that. Some of the gimbal work on those shots was a little shaky. You could definitely see kind of that wavy warp stabilizer on there. You got to talk to Clay about that. I'm terrible.
I don't know
with
if that is a
so.
gimbal. It looks like handheld to me.
It's probably handheld with warp stabilizer on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if it was handheld, the only thing I would suggest there is maybe film it in like a 60 or 90. So you got that little slow motion to slow it down. And then like some of the stuff where he's just kind of working, I'd like to see some tight shots. a variety of different shots there.
And move your feet. Like, you kind of stood in the same spot the whole time, like kind of chase him around a little bit.
I think the advantage of a gimbal
He's moving a little bit there,
is
but
to really be able to do dynamic movements. So if you've got the gimbal on, trying to do some of those dynamic movements with it, and then trying to get the tights of his hands on the hives and setting it down and picking it up, and wide shots of him in his environment, and like tights of hands and eyes and latches and clasps and the ropes and the little stuff.
some macro shots of
Also-
bees would have been cool.
Yes.
Also, to be fair, if Nick's doesn't have a bee suit on, I don't know how close he can get.
He said he's been filming in a bee suit, and he said it's
Oh.
difficult.
Okay.
Oh, I
yeah.
would say so.
And then again, some of this is is the guy, does he want to wait for
Is he cooperative?
Nick to do all that stuff? And
Yeah.
is he going to pick up and set down? I've never worked with bees, so I don't know
Yeah.
how much you can redo stuff.
But that's coming in, you got to be able to have that conversation before you get out and film too. Like, how much latitude do we have?
Mm-hmm.
Or also, like, was the dude, I don't know if Nick got paid for this, but did dude pay Nick a day rate? And the guy was like, yeah, all right, if you're going to be here for a day, we're getting 7 videos today.
Yeah, that's
So
the worst.
Did he have to pop out 7 videos, and that's the most that he could do was 7 videos?
Mhm.
Yeah. So some of that stuff is like maybe he just didn't have the opportunity. I mean, it happens to us all the time. We'd like to get 4,000 shots, and the person's like, film it once, get what you get, let's go.
Mhm.
I liked this drone shot a lot, where you can see the bees
I liked it. It was
buzzing
just
up
an
to it.
awkward transition. I liked the shot a lot.
How would you smooth that out?
Well,
So
it's
that
the
it's
music.
productive.
It's the music.
Yeah.
The music going to nothing, and then it comes in kind of without a purpose. Right here. I mean, it cuts off. Just cool, and then like, I'd have that as soon as that door closes, like the cool song or something. It just comes in awkwardly, and the song begins awkward. Like, I didn't like the feel of that. But I think that's a super easy fix. Just moving your song around, picking a better song, and like timing it to the door shutting or something. Cutting to your music a little bit better.
Yep. I think for this drone sequence, a little bit more shot variety there. Just generally, I liked when he came by with like the drive-by shot.
Yeah.
I think some more drive-by shots or in the cab shots would have been cool. Like you said, if those things are super, super
Yeah,
small, he might.
Is
not
he?
have
I
been
want to know
able
if that shot sped up or not, because he looks like he's freaking zooming
I
right
know.
there.
I
He's
like
just
that shot a lot.
flying by.
Could have done.
But
a
yeah,
little,
like if
little
you're in the cab,
Yeah, you 100% could have.
if you're in the cab, I mean, like hand on the steering wheel, eyes.
Yeah, he gets one
Whatever,
shot
yeah.
inside the truck, which
Yeah.
is this one right here.
Yeah, I would have liked a couple more.
It's a right side drive too, which is weird.
Again,
Can you imagine shifting with your left hand?
I thought about that. Like if you go to Europe, the clutch is still on the same side though,
Yeah.
That's weird.
but the stick, yeah,
They
you
need
got
to
to do
get it together. They
left-handed.
just need to get it together.
Technically,
Should get it together.
Technically, they have it first.
No.
I think we
No.
had vehicles first, Henry
Oh.
Ford and such.
Yeah. So
Um,
we win again.
Again, if it was me, just I'm giving you random style advice of things that I would do, not knowing at all what you guys had talked about style-wise. So take it with a grain of salt. For me, again, because it's like a Japanese mini truck, I probably would have done like a Tokyo Drifts type of montage of him getting to the place,
Of
and
course
just
you would've.
totally overdone it because
Yeah.
I think it's entertaining. It would selfishly that would be fun for me.
But
I
you
would
add,
have fun making it.
you add value
But
to
it
it.
adds a little flavor
yeah,
to
you
it.
add a little flavor to a normally mundane situation.
And to be fair,
And I think the guy maybe doesn't want to be really jokey about the fact that it's a Japanese mini truck. So, maybe that was off the table and he wants to be serious about it. But
add a good power slide or a donut in there, and it's Tokyo Drift.
to be fair though, we get sent these a lot of times, and people are filming in 60 or 120, or they're shooting stuff super hot, like the exposure's off. So as far as like the actual technicalities go,
Yes.
it looks like it's shot and exposed and everything correctly.
And maybe from now on, we need to ask like what
That
the
looks sped up though.
It was. We need to
yeah, maybe
ask,
get a little background.
Well, yeah, like what would did it need to be a certain time length? Was it for
Yeah.
a client? Was it for a
Yeah.
buddy? How much time did you have? Because that
What's
that
our commission?
Yeah, that factors a lot into what you get out of it. Because that's what one of my biggest pet peeves was asking somebody about. The budget for a project, and they want to know how much that I want to know how much money I'm going to make. Is like, no, how cool can we make this? How much time can we spend on it? And I think that's what it comes down to for a good video. It's how much time can you spend on it,
Yeah.
and how willing of a host do you have. Which this guy seemed like he was really willing. He seemed comfortable on camera. Anytime I see somebody talking with their hands, usually that they're pretty confident on camera. That's usually a good rule of thumb is when somebody's confident enough to talk with their hands. I could see his microphone too. That bothered me, but it is what it is.
Pick it up.
It's right there on his. He's got the magnet on it.
Oh, the DJI.
Yeah.
See, I didn't notice it.
I noticed it. It bothered me. But hey, I'm a weirdo.
Yeah. And again, I think too, I always tell people this when they ask me to review stuff is, one, I'm going to be subjective about it. Two, I'm looking at it from the point of view of Ryer, the professional videographer, video editor, who I'm very OCD. I'm very perfectionist, and I'm going to notice a lot of stuff because I'm in the industry. I do it for a living. 90% of your audience is never going to notice half of what we've pointed out. So, you keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, I had our instructor at CrossFit this morning asked me if I could.
Oh, CrossFit.
She's got 36.
There it is. There it is. He's starting.
He's that guy.
He's starting.
She's got 36.
Hey, why don't you tell everybody about your workout the other day, huh?
She's got 36 videos that have been sent in by friends and family of her daughter. Her daughter's graduating.
Oh, God.
And they average from 30 seconds to 3.5 minutes. And she wanted to know if she could send them all to me to edit together, like for her daughter, like as a graduation present. I was like, no, I can't do it. She said, why? I'll pay you. I was like, because I mentally cannot edit. You think about it, 36 videos.
I think she just wants them put in a timeline and put together.
Yeah, but I can't do that. 36.
It'd take you 5 minutes.
36 minutes of cell phone footage vertically of people talking. I can't do it.
Oh, you don't even have to watch it. You literally lay it in the timeline, send it in an outpoint, and export
I couldn't do it.
Oh my God, Clay. It would take you 5 minutes. It would
not
take
the
you
point.
longer to start the project.
But it would give me
edit.
years of mental strain.
Oh my God.
I think overall, Nick, great video. The takeaways for me are you might need to work on some of the transitions a little bit, scene to scene, and I'd like to see a little bit more, some more cutaways, and maybe a little bit more pizzazz. Something to
Did you just Salt Bay?
Yeah,
He did.
Something to kind of break up the talking segment, and then like a little something fast into another talking segment.
Maybe a little graphic in there.
Yeah.
Maybe some, like a freeze frame with like a information on how much honey these bees will create or how many bees are in the hive.
I got no idea how to freeze frame. I couldn't tell you. Never done it.
Clay.
He probably hasn't done it. He
I never
knows
have.
how.
I never have
You
done
don't
There's
know?
literally a button that you hit it, and
it. Is it a quick key?
It's
No.
If so, I probably changed it.
Well, there is a quick key, but it's a right. You can right click.
Oh. I had no idea.
I can show you later if you want to know.
Clay, you shouldn't tell people that.
But yeah, overall,
I had a guy.
overall,
this
very
is-
solid video.
This is funny.
We're going off the rails, Nick. It was a good video.
Yeah, sorry, sorry, Nick. I had a guy email in he's looking to hire somebody, and he's like wanting to know if we had anybody from our classes.
To hire?
To hire, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he, which happens all the time if you want to come to our classes, by the way.
You can
And
put on the super exclusive
He sent me
suggestions list if
I was
you're
like,
cool.
"Do you have a salary?" He sent me the salary. It was abysmal. And I said, "What skill set
What?
are you wanting these
Can you
people to
say the
have?"
salary?
No, I don't want to say it.
Abysmal
Why not?
high or abysmal low?
Abysmal low.
Oh.
well,
And he sent a
do you
sent,
not know what abysmal means?
No.
Clay. He sent a job description.
It's bad. It means horrible.
He sent a job description of someone who has to be able to do everything: shoot, edit, podcast, do all, this laundry list, this whole page. And I'm like, okay. I was like, there's not one single person in our office that can do all of that. We collectively can do all of that. I was like, to find one person that can do all of that is going to cost you a lot of money. And I was like, and they're not going to do all of those things well.
Or timely.
Yeah. So it's just, it's the state of the state of expectations of somebody wanting a content creator right now is crazy.
I think it's annoying that people expect that because I'm tired of doing all of it. You know what I mean? Like, there's some parts of the video I do them. I would love to just hand it to somebody.
Reels.
Yeah.
You do. You hand me reels.
Any sort of
I ain't
graphics.
Clay real
any type of graphics. Like if I could just put a placeholder that was like
graphics here.
graphic of this here. Call me, I'll tell you what I want. Like that's what I want to do. Today I had to make a little intro graphic thing.
It took you all day, didn't it?
Well, not really, but we're doing other stuff in between. I wish I couldn't not have to do that at all. Show opens and intros, I don't like doing those.
I don't mind those.
I don't like them that much.
You only like long form. You have no
That's
desire
not true.
whatsoever to be hypey or.
That's not true. I do like hype stuff.
When's the last hype thing you edited?
The reel.
That wasn't even hype though. That was long form. Like, what's the next last 30-second to 1 minute hit you in the mouth thing that you've done?
The Bergara release videos this time last year.
Yeah. And then I
wouldn't even consider those hit you in the mouth.
The baseball.
And the baseball. That's
But to
probably
be fair, we don't get a lot of hypey stuff to do.
yeah, true.
All right. So
A lot of the 30-second to 1 minute stuff gets pulled out of our long form stuff that we don't film to be hypey.
but I
we
will
film it
say
to be
I
long form.
do enjoy the story part a lot more.
Yeah.
I'm
we know.
definitely more of a
As do I.
So like if one of you guys wants to get really good at After Effects, you should do it. Cuz if given a choice of more skills to learn,
I've been
After Effects
After
is
Effects.
Are we
My
looking?
brain's out
Are we
last
looking
couple
for a
days.
graphics person?
Yeah.
All right. So if anyone out there is good in After Effects,
After Effects.
good in After Effects.
He said After
He
Effects,
did.
didn't he?
We'll
Okay.
run it back.
Okay, we'll run it. If
What is it?
anyone
What we at?
is
We'll find
good
it.
in After Effects, get a hold of
If you're
Caleb.
abysmal at After Effects, the good abysmal.
See, this is why I don't talk on the podcast.
Oh God.
You just got to say the right words.
Yeah,
or stick to words
I
that you
don't
know. what
In the
they're-
words of Charles Barkley, I don't spoke too good.
It's true. Here's the deal, though, Clay, is I know a lot of people that do this, and I do this, but you guys don't catch it because you don't.
You say big words that you know no one else means, and it
Well,
makes
I
you
say a
sound
big
smarter.
word that I've heard somewhere in context before, and I think I know what it means.
Yeah, you do that when you
can't
get
do
mad.
that because I'll
when
catch
we
you.
start
Listen,
when
You
we
can't
start
do that. I'll catch
when
you.
we start
Listen.
attacking you, that's when you start using big words. is
All
what
you
I can
just-
tell you.
But then I know exactly what they mean.
Just
I know
listen-
exactly what I'm
Just
saying.
listen to Brothers Karamazov, and there's lots of big words.
Who?
Brothers Karamazov, or whatever that book I'm reading, or was reading.
Are you reading it?
No, listen
What do
to
you?
it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's lots of big words. I'm like, good God, they're throwing in big words just for the sake of big. I was like, I wanted to call Ryder when they said a word today. I'm like, you don't even know what this word means.
Yeah, get your money's worth out of
Yeah.
that $14.99.
He's just like, dude, they're just figuring out ways to put in big words. I'm like, this is
They
ridiculous.
said probably a couple of times, and Caleb
Yeah.
was like, "That's one syllable over
All
the
right.
limit."
That's it. We're an hour 19 into this. All right, guys. Peace.